Then you've got several other organizations that are similar. They're not quite secret societies, although you really don't hear about them much. You have the Trilateral Commission, founded by David Rockefeller, and his minion, Zbigniew Brzezinski, who served as national security advisor to Jimmy Carter. Long story there, but basically, when he was a professor at Columbia University, he had written a book. Zbigniew Brzezinski had written a book called America's Role in the Technotronic Age, in the Technotronic Era. It was between two ages. And he basically argues that America is obsolete. We got to move past that. He says Marxism is kind of the next step forward in human evolution. He does give some, obligatory criticism of the Soviet system, but he paints Marxism basically as a benign step forward. And then ultimately, he describes a technocratic system where self-government is essentially eliminated, individual liberty is eventually eliminated, and you're left with technocracy, basically ruled by experts, scientists, engineers under the guise of efficiency or sustainability or equality, or pick your empty talking points and insert them there. You got the Bilderberg Group, right? Another powerful organization, 120 to 180 of the most powerful people in the world get together every year. You've got then the secret societies. I mean, actual secret societies like the Bohemian Grove out in Northern California. Thousands of the most powerful men in the world get together every year in the redwood forest of Northern California. Every Republican president going back 100 years, with the exception of Donald Trump, has attended. Richard Nixon wrote in his autobiography that the most important speech he gave in his entire political career was the one he gave at the Bohemian Grove. And later, of course, those audio tapes were leaked, and we found out he thought it was the most blankety blank homosexual thing he had ever seen in his life. So clearly he wasn't a big fan, but he gave a very nice nod to it in his autobiography. And so there's another powerful group. You've got the Skull and Bones Society at Yale University, John Kerry, member, George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, Senator Prescott Bush, Supreme Court justices, CEOs. They recruit 15 new people each year. So you have this whole network of very, very powerful, highly secretive organizations that are pulling the strings behind the scenes. And one of the things about these groups, one of the historians who did more work on this than anybody, Anthony Sutton out of Stanford University, he says that they like to have both sides of the argument in the bag. They like to control the right side of the argument and the left side of the argument, so that no matter what way it goes, they end up in charge. And we see that so clearly, like in the 2004 election, right? We had a choice between George Bush, member of Skull and Bones, or John Kerry, member of Skull and Bones, both also affiliated with the Council on Foreign Relations, both having attended Bilderberg. Right? So they're all part of this little network, this little club.